South Fork Sea Farmers and South Fork Natural History Museum, and I'll mention some of those later. And well, the trustees are the folks that help us, give us access to all the water. Town board is the one that pays the bills. South Fork Sea Farmers, I'll talk about a little later, and South Fork Natural History Museum is a great partner that we have. The guy that runs it actually used to work here at the hatchery. So quick.
Yes, so I know it's
next meeting is going to be March 27th, 5 p.m., same place, same time.
All at the same time.
Yeah, could you folks mute yourselves, please? Everybody mute. I think that's it. Okay. And then April 24th, we'll be back again to talk about shellfish diseases, pests, predators, and handling. And for those that have heard it before, that's probably one of the more helpful ones because it's really hands-on, deals with actually eating and handling your oysters. Weekend of May 13th is when you're going to do your first maintenance for veterans. We'll have everything floated by then. It's a long way off, so the world will change. Yeah. May 22nd, I'm going to do a nursery tour and an intro to the oyster gardening gear right across the way here at the nursery, 42 Gann Road. Weekend of June 14 and 15 is when we'll do the seed handout. So that's when all you new folks will start, get your new seed, all your new gear. And then from then on, it's basically a 3-week maintenance schedule. And the veterans can help the new folks. I send out emails telling you exactly what you need to do. It's pretty straightforward. And then middle of October, we start looking at overwintering. It goes pretty quick. It's a short growing season, but they grow like crazy. All right, so a little background about New York shellfish. First, historically, there were food, currency, tools, and jewelry for thousands of years. Everybody's heard the word wampum. Everybody knows what wampum is. This beautiful purple part on the clamshell. Wampum, used for shell money. And nowadays, when you hear about people getting clam pearls, sometimes the pearl looks like that beautiful purple wampum. And they're like the size of a pea, kind of like the size of this stuff in this piece of jewelry here. And one interesting fact is that the oldest sign of human settlement in the U.S. was based on shell middens that were found in the Hudson Valley. Anybody know what shell middens are?
Piles of shell.
Piles of shell. So imagine folks just sitting around eating shell and they toss it into a pile. Hundreds and thousands of years go by and they find those piles of shell, and that's an indication of where people used to live. Until the mid-1900s, New York was one of the nation's leaders in shellfish production. The Great South Bay was the nation, if not the world's leader in hard clam production. And the Queen of England used to love Long Island oysters. They'd be shipped to her by the barrel full, obviously pre-refrigeration. So they'd be kind of stacked in barrels with seaweed to keep them cool. And then as the island developed, you all can imagine what happened. Water quality depleted, over-harvest. You know what happened in the city, raw sewage washing into the water, septic systems, everything else. And all these stocks were depleted. Come on in. Hi, how you doing? Come on in, have a seat. We're underway. So yeah, and then other things are happening too. Striped bass fishery was taking a hit because of PCBs in the Hudson River, which is where striped bass spawn. So all these little kind of nails in the coffin, if you will, for the fishery were causing baymen to really struggle to make a living way back in the early 1900s when it was a true form of making a living. So then the real straw that broke the camel's back was the brown tide that came in the mid-80s. And that really wiped out a lot of the shellfish stocks. It's a toxic algae that shaded out eelgrass. It caused shellfish to starve because they couldn't eat it. And it shaded out all the good algae. So it knocked down the harvest levels to about 20% of what it was before this bloom. So then the East Hampton, so this chart kind of shows what happened. This is Bay Scallop landings from the 50s, and then you can see in the mid 80s where it plummets down there to 0. We had a nice little blip in the mid 90s, and then we've been suffering ever since. And so the East Hampton Shellfish Hatchery was established. Established in the late 80s by John Aldred, my predecessor. We're housed in an old Navy building on Fort Pond Bay. Pretty cool building if anybody wants to come check it out. Our mission is to spawn, grow, and seed millions of clams, oysters, and bay scallops annually. We also do sugar kelp pilots, basically another way to remove excess nutrients from the water, provide some habitat over the winter. I won't go into that too much. We're at the hatchery in Montauk from January through July. So this time of year, we're doing our spawning. We did our first oyster spawn last week, and they're growing wonderfully. I have a video at the end. Hopefully it works.
Were you affected by the blackout, that little blip?
Yeah, we had a power outage for about 3 hours. Didn't cause any major drama. We have the nursery right next door here at 42 Gann Road. We're there from April to August. Field site in Nappee and 3 Mile from June through October. And then at that point, come October, when everything's grown, as much as it'll grow, as you guys know, the oysters will grow to at least 2 inches or so in one season. And then we seed them out. Clams get seeded out. Bay scallops get seeded out all in the public bottom in town. And they're there to grow, filter water, do their thing, provide habitat, hopefully spawn and recreate. And we produce annual reports and seed maps that are available on the website. Cool picture of way back in the day on Great South Bay when things used to ice regularly, playing through the ice. So what good are these things? Aside from us enjoying to eat them, which we're going to do in about 45 minutes, hour or so. I don't see any bottles of wine on the table though. Come on. So the water filtration. One adult oyster can filter 50 gallons of water a day. So you extrapolate that out to your little crop of 1,000, that's 50,000 gallons of water a day. Extrapolate that out to the millions that we seed and put on the bottom every year. It's hundreds of millions of gallons of water a day. They sequester excess nutrients, all those excess nutrients that we hear about that are causing harmful algae blooms. They sequester some of those in their shell and their meats. And the only way that they're actually going to get removed from the waterway is if we take them out and eat them. The more of these that we grow and eat, the better. They create habitat, they increase biodiversity. They're a great food source. You can see one oyster, 69 calories, 2 grams of fat, 4 total carbs, 8 grams of protein. And what this doesn't show is the zinc, magnesium, like 4 times the daily value that you need. And I know I personally swear by eating oysters and not getting sick. I don't know if any of you have had the same results, but one of our oyster gardeners, a guy named Joseph, he's on the oyster a day plan, never gets sick, never got COVID. So it's awesome. It's part of the culture and commerce, and it's sustainable, which I'll get into. So these pictures on the bottom really tell a tale. These are true, not fudge pictures at all. This is the bottom of Northwest Creek on the left. We seed oysters in the middle. Come back the next year. Those oysters are huge. There's seaweed growing on them. There's tons of nooks and crannies and stuff that you can't even see, like grass shrimp, baby finfish are hiding in those oysters. So it's really doing its duty. That's Northwest Creek from back in like 2018 or so. All right, so a little bit of the nitty-gritty shellfish taxonomy. You'll hear folks refer to these as animals because they're in the kingdom Animalia. They're not plants, they're not fungi, they're not protists, they're animals. They produce sperm and egg, reproduce with sperm and egg. They don't create their own food. They have hearts, they have blood, although it's not red, and I'll talk about that in a bit when we do our anatomy. They're in the phylum Mollusca. Everybody's heard of the mollusk. They're not arthropods. They're not gastropods, they're mollusks. They're in the class Bivalvia, which means bi meaning 2, valve meaning shell. And from there, we'll skip over order and family and all that stuff and talk about the genus and species. The bay scallop is Argopecten irradians. The eastern oyster is Chrysostria virginica. That's the eastern oyster that you guys are growing. And one thing that I always like everybody to know and remember is that there's one species of edible oyster on the East Coast, right? As opposed to the West Coast where there might be like 4. There's the European flat, Pacific, the Olympia, one other that I'm forgetting. Another common name for this, and remember there's a quiz at the end, so hopefully you guys are all going to tune into the Kahoot. It's a lot of fun. Another common name for this is the, American oyster. It went back on me. Okay. So, and then the hard clam is Mercenaria mercenaria, and a lot of hatcheries grow this variety called notata, and I'll talk about that in a bit with a picture. Other common names of the hard clam are the quahog, little neck, cherry stone, chowder, top neck. Those are all the same animal. Those are all just size designations. All right, any questions from anywhere yet? Okay, so talking about the phylum Mollusca, which comes from the Latin molluscus, meaning soft, which refers to that inner body. There's 100,000 living species, and this is the second largest group of animals to the arthropods, which includes, anyone know what group is in the arthropods that might make that such a huge group of animals? Insects, yeah. So there's 100,000 species of mollusks. There's 3 orders of magnitude more species of arthropods. All the insects, crabs, lobster, all that stuff. But the cool thing about the mollusks is it's also obviously a huge group, and the clam, oyster, and scallop are all related to these other guys. The nautilus, the squid, the octopus, all the snails, all in the molluscus phyla. Main characteristics of them are they have a muscular foot, and I'll talk about that a little later when we get into the anatomy. They all have a muscular foot at some point in their life. They have a mantle, which we'll see again in the anatomy. That's the organ that lays down the new shell. They have a radula or a crystalline style, and that's the organ in their gut that grounds up all their food. Most of them have this calcium-based shell. And then on to the bivalve. Like I said, bi meaning 2, valve meaning shell. 2 shells enclosing the body, which you all know from playing with and shucking oysters, clams, and scallops. They have an adductor muscle or muscles, and we'll go over that again in the anatomy. Some have 1, some have 2. They have this laterally compressed foot. Anybody who's eaten raw clams, most of you, right? The big chewy thing that gets stuck in my teeth right here. It's the foot. It's the big chewy muscle, huge. And I've got some big clams in the fridge. We'll cut those open. By the way, if there's anybody that's actually good at cutting clams open, feel free, please, because clams are tough to cut open and actually see, as you know, they're tough to cut open and actually see the anatomy, because you usually cut right through half the body. So if there's anybody that's good at it, you can do your thing. And large gills for food collection and gas exchange, all part of the bivalve characteristics. So some other fun facts to know and tell at the next dinner party you're going to. What's going on here? Oh,
It should come on.
so the state shell for New York is the bay scallop. Surprise, surprise. For the hard clam, it's Rhode Island, and the eastern oyster being the popular one here, Connecticut, Virginia, and Massachusetts.
Rhode Island does not do oyster oils.
Are you sure?
That's what they told me at the clubs.
Huh.
I was shocked.
Wow, they got to get on that. The range of these things, so we're basically going from least hardy on the left, the bay scallop, to most hardy on the right, the eastern oyster. That's part of the reason why they're such a good oyster gardening candidate. So the bay scallop range is from Cape Cod to Texas. The range of the clam is Gulf of St. Lawrence, which is Canada, to Texas. And the eastern oyster, basically the whole east coast of all the Americas, from Gulf of St. Lawrence all the way down to Argentina. Temperature tolerances are the bay scallop cannot freeze, whereas the hard clam and eastern oyster can sustain a little bit of freezing. So we're going to see come spring how well they did, because we had a rough winter here. We had a lot of really crazy low tides. We decided this winter to leave the gardens where they were and sink them where they were, because we haven't seen ice in 10 years. Sure enough, we jinxed ourselves. The farmers in the Peconics got really beat up, because a lot of them left their cages on the surface.
Oh.
And a lot of the conics actually iced up, and then when ice breaks up, it just tears everything apart.
Yeah.
So there were cages washed up on Jessup's Neck and all over the place.
Oh.
They all got cleaned up, thankfully. Salinity tolerance, again, least hardy is the base scallop, 14 parts per thousand or above for the base scallop. Hard clam is 10 to 35 parts per thousand. And the eastern oyster, 5 to 40 parts per thousand. Does anybody know what that parts per thousand means? Any examples of, anybody give us an examples of what our salinity is like around here, maybe?
Sodium per milligram?
It's a range of salinity, parts of salt per thousand of water, basically. But I'm just thinking, like, for instance, 3 Mile Harbor. We're out here on the east end of Island, obviously, very oceanic water. Our salinities here are really high. We're like 28-ish, even in 3 Mile Harbor, even after it rains, because it's so well flushed. Whereas Chesapeake is probably in the teens, can be mid to low teens. So out here, we're right up, the ocean beach is going to be 32, 33. So we're nice high salinity. So there's never really a threat of them suffering from a low salinity condition. Habitat for them is base scallop, subtidal, which means they basically have to be under the water at all times. The hard clam and the eastern oyster can survive in that intertidal area. Obviously, because they can freeze, they can end up high and dry, which we can talk about later when we talk about harvesting and stuff. Gender differentiation is pretty interesting. The base scallop is what we call a simultaneous hermaphrodite. So they could produce sperm and egg at the same time. I have a great picture in here that shows all that. The hard clam and the eastern oyster are protandric hermaphrodites. So what that means is when they mature, they're one gender, and then they can switch. They can actually switch back and forth. So they can maintain a nice gender differentiation in their population, because their goal in life is to procreate, right? Just like most animals. Okay. First anatomy shot. So this is the position of the oyster. It's actually really fascinating. Obviously, I'm fascinated by these things, but once you learn how the oyster actually works, it's fascinating. So the mantle is this frilly organ on the outside, and then you have 4 layers of gills, and then we have mouth parts down here by the hinge. The mouth feeds into the stomach, obviously. The gonad is here, which is the organ that holds the sperm and the eggs, sperm or eggs in this case. The muscle, which we all know from shucking. The heart is right next to the muscle toward the hinge. And then the rectum is on the other side. So the way these guys feed, and as much as shellfish rely on water flowing, oysters can actually pump water. They can actually move water. So the way they work is, you can see where it says inhalant current. The water comes in this ventral side. They use these gills, and there's actually a really amazing video on YouTube that you can find that shows them walking the food particles down their gills. So they'll capture food along the whole surface of gill, walk it down to their mouth parts. And here it gets even more amazing. They actually, because they're taking in all kinds of different stuff, right? Little pieces of sediment, algae, but they're shooting for the algae, the phytoplankton. So they can separate out everything that they're taking in at a rate of 50 gallons an hour and spit out what they don't want. And it comes out in a string. We call that pseudofeces. They'll ingest what they want, goes through the stomach, they digest it, and then out the other side.
You said 50 gallons per hour?
Day. I might have misspoken, sorry.
Just for you.
Yeah. So pretty cool. And if you have the time, look on YouTube for that video. I should have dug it up before and tried to share it, but knowing how tech goes, it wouldn't work. But so that's the oyster anatomy, and we'll see it live. I have a bunch of oysters in the fridge.
So when they're sitting on the bottom, they just opening the shell a little bit to allow.
Yeah, they're opening the shell like 1/8 of an inch.
Oh.
That's it. That's all it takes. And then when we do a spawn, we did the spawn last week, they're open. Some of them opened up quite a bit, maybe 3/16 of an inch. You can see the mantle, you can see the gills.
Oh, wow.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when they spawn, it's a totally different show, but I gotta save that for next time. Hard clam anatomy, like I said, it's tough to cut these open because they're, more like a ball, whereas the oyster has the flat top shell and the cupped bottom. So these are easier to shuck cleanly, whereas the clam, when you shuck the clam, once you get the knife in there and cut the muscles, at least for me, you're really eviscerating the whole thing. So it's hard to get a good look at the anatomy, but basically they have the two muscles. They have their siphon, which is how they move their water around. So they're not taking water into their whole body cavity. And why is that? Anybody think about why that might be? Why do they have to have a siphon instead of just hanging out with the shell open?
They're in the mud.
They're in the bottom, yeah. So they're burrowed into the bottom, like so. Siphon sticks out. So they use that. They have the inhalant and the exhalant siphons. Oops, broke that hinge off. Goes through the ropes, goes through the stomach. Their mouth parts are on the other side. So it goes in here, works its way all the way over to the mouth, through the stomach. The gonad is right next to the stomach. Hard to decipher unless they're ripe and ready to spawn. The foot, again, huge organ. And again, we'll see that real time. Bay scallop anatomy. Everybody probably, here's a great photo of a bay scallop held open. The big white pillar-like thing in there is the muscle, and that's the part that we eat. The rest of it generally gets discarded. And what are the special things about scallops, everybody? Eyes. So you can see those blue dots on the edge of the shell there. Those are eyes. 28 pairs of eyes, just enough to detect shade. They can also swim. I don't have a video of that, but you'll have to come by the nursery this summer and check that out. That gonad is pictured here. And gonad is pictured here where it says T and O, T for testes, O for ova. So you can see both the sperm and egg are being developed in that gonad, and then the picture below, you can see there's kind of a, what color is that, orangish? That's the eggs in the gonad, and then below that white band is the sperm. So we can tell during the spring when they're ripening to spawn, we can actually tell when they're ready to spawn by the color of that gonad. If it's got that nice rich color in it, it's usually. What about them? Is there a question? No? Okay. Which usually occurs end of May, beginning of June, and we know that they're ready to spawn. And that's what we usually do. And I'll probably talk about that later. I don't want to get too in the weeds, but.
Why don't the other parts of the scallop typically get eaten?
A lot of people, that's a good question. They're not exactly palatable.
I've eaten them.
Oh, have you?
It's
All
not
right.
bad. It's just,
So that eye mantle
Yeah.
is freaking out a little bit.
you know what? To me, whenever I'm eating shellfish, if you're not adverse to eating shellfish,
Yeah.
it's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think scallops are that different. I mean, I've eaten them raw.
Yeah, well, they're really good grilled whole,
Yeah.
like post-harvest. Have you done that? Put the whole thing on the grill.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That's my preferred technique for opening oysters and
Easy way of it.
and then denatures it enough so it's
Yeah.
easy to handle.
And some people actually worry about metals accumulating in the kidney of the scallop too. So that's something to consider and look into. But yeah, for some, for you, if it's doesn't bother
It's
you.
not toxic necessarily, right?
No. Yes.
Are the oysters happiest with the curved side down, and if they have a flat side down, is there any way they can turn over?
Great questions and great points. So they are happiest cup side down because when they are high and dry, when the tide goes out and they're high and dry, they're gonna gape open a little bit. Say, hey, can I open up and feed or no? And if no, they can close, and all the liquid in their body stays in, cup side down. If they are upside down, the one thing about oysters of all three of these other species we're talking about is that once they surpass their larval stage, which I'll talk about, they lose the ability to move. So oysters, like an oyster like this, is totally at the mercy of where we put it, where it lands. So yeah, the only time the oyster can move is during its larval stage, cup side down. But this is not something you need to worry about as gardeners. You know, you're not going to go through each bag
Right.
Oh, no.
and move each oyster cup side down. Just dump them in there, and they can still feed upside down in your bags and stuff. But as far as being out and on the bottom, that's a good point. Good
Now I'm gonna
question.
feel guilty every time I flip the cage.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about
All right, so on to broodstock. Broodstock are basically the parents of all of our spawning stock. So we can select them based on color. Each species is a little bit different. Clams we select pretty much randomly. I kind of hate these whatchamacallit, animations. Clams so let me talk about the notata. You see this picture of 5 clams. The 3 on the right have that beautiful shell marking on them, right? That's the notata marking. That's Mercenaria notata variety. That's derived from a recessive gene, just like red hair, blue eyes, albinism, all recessive. And if you take like recessive partners and spawn them, mate them, then all the offspring, majority of the offspring will have the marking. So a lot of hatcheries grow these notata clams because it just has a great natural marking. So it allows us to keep track of the success of seedings. They do tend to grow a little faster, which obviously helps because our mission is to start early, grow these things as large as we can in one season, and then seed them out. But the one complaint that we hear is that because they grow fast, their shells are a little thinner. So when people go to shuck them, they crack. So we've started to mix in more of the whites because we know that, after 40 years of doing this, our notata, our seeded clams are doing well. So we're trying to appease the folks that don't like cracked shells and get some more whites in the mix. The scallops, as you can see, they also have markings. There's colored scallops. I'm sure some of you have seen the beautiful orange scallops. There's these striped ones, which are called skunks. Oysters, generally, oysters are selected for fast growth, nice shape. We used to just take our oyster stock totally randomly. Like if I found an oyster up island somewhere that looked like a good survivor, we'd throw it into the spawning stock. But then we got hit with a disease one year called juvenile oyster disease that wiped out much of our crop. So we took the survivors from that year and kept them and basically created a resistant crop. So now we actually learned a good thing because now we spawn 1-year-old oysters. They eat less in conditioning and they condition quicker. And I'll talk about that next. So the bottom right is an overhead view of our broodstock conditioning tank, which I'll talk about next. So broodstock conditioning is basically the process of getting these adult spawners ready to spawn. There's this thing called gametogenesis, which is basically birthing or starting their process of making gametes, which is egg and sperm. And so if we keep them at the right temperature, you can see the temperature here is 16.8. That's in Celsius, so that's right around 60 degrees. So what we do is this time of year, it's February, we'll take our stash of oysters that we set aside from the previous season, bring them directly into the hatchery, put them in this tank, warm them up to the 60-degree water, and they're gonna go into gametogenesis mode, which is putting all their growth energy into getting ready to spawn. They're creating their sperm and their eggs, as opposed to putting it toward shell and meat growth, which they'll do later on when the water warms. So 6 to 8 weeks in broodstock conditioning, 60-degree water, constantly fed. You can see there's nice color in that water. That color is derived from the algae that we'll talk about in a bit. the algae that we grow, put those here. They continually drip fed. They eat about 100 gallons of this stuff a day. So it's quite a bit of food. And then normal reproduction in the wild would occur. So this would occur in the wild starting, say, April, May. Water's warming up. 50 degrees is the magic temperature. Below 50 degrees, they don't feed. Above 50 degrees, they're going to feed. It's another important thing to remember when it comes to maintenance and stuff. And then normal reproduction would occur around 70 degrees. This is all, so it's springtime, right? Everything's out there reproducing, mating, producing their babies. And that's all based on food availability. The birds do it, the deer do it, the raccoons, the fox, they're all reproducing in the spring because they come out of this cold winter. There's tons of food around, and oysters and clams are no different. There's tons of food. Once this water blooms up and goes green, they're ready to spawn. So the life cycle looks like this. And we're going to start focusing a little more on the eastern oyster because that's what you guys are growing. So you have your adults on the bottom here, the broodstock. The males emit their sperm, female emits the egg, sperm fertilizes the egg. Within 4 to 6 hours, within a couple of hours, we can actually watch the cells divide in the hatchery, which is pretty cool. I have a video of that I can try and show next time. You have a fertilized egg. 4 to 6 hours later, we have a stage called the trophophore larvae. By the next day, we actually have a swimming larvae. And I have a video at the end, hopefully it works, of some 2-week-old swimming larvae. So basically at this stage, they're called veligers. They have this velum, which is the ciliated organ, and that's what they'll use to swim around. You'll see it in the video. They use that to swim around, grab the food particles out of the water, stuff them into their gut, and this stage lasts for about 2 weeks, this top veliger stage. They're planktonic, they're floating around the water column, gaining weight, and then once they reach a certain stage, they become petiveligers. Peti meaning foot. So this is that one stage where they have their foot. They'll drop to the bottom. They'll use that foot to drag themselves around. They cement to a substrate. The substrate that we provide is called microculture, which is ground up shell. This is a container of ground up shell, about 1/4 millimeter each size, in size. In the wild, they would find preferably other oyster shell, and that's how oyster reefs are built. Oysters setting on oysters after over thousands of years. And otherwise, they'll set on rocks. I'm sure you've all seen it. They'll set on bulkheads. They'll set on whatever they can. Unfortunately, they don't set on sand. If they did, we'd have oysters everywhere. It's too bad they don't. And then at that stage, we call them spat. So larvae become spat once they're set, and then once they're reproductively viable, which takes about a year, then we can call them adults or teenagers, whatever you want to call them.
So when we take the oyster shells and we put them in like those bags,
Yeah.
and then we put them into like the harbors, at what point would the oyster begin attaching to it?
Good question. So you're talking about when we build the reefs.
Yes.
So when we don't use this microculture, we can also make up bags of shell, mesh bags of shell. And in the hatchery, we can set, do I have a picture of it? I have a picture. We can set the oysters on these bags of shell. So it's basically a miniature reef as opposed to a single oyster. And we put those into the water, and then depending on the time of year, usually the following season, late spring, early summer, when the naturals spawn, then they'll set onto those shells. And that's something we're looking for. That's when we build our oyster reefs. That's
So
the
are we
ultimate
having a
goal.
success rate with that? Because we've been doing it for what, a year, 2 years?
3
now?
years
Oh,
now.
3 years.
Yeah, we've got 3 reefs in Acrobonic.
Mhm.
There is some natural set. So basically what we'll do is we'll put a blank bag, just a bag of clean shell out on the reef, and then monitor it through the summer and look for.
Is anyone doing
for
research on that? And
Yeah, the
okay.
high school
High
students.
school, okay,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
okay, the research.
Yeah,
With
it's great.
Stephanie? Okay,
Yeah, with Jocelyn did it last year, Nick Cooper.
yep.
Okay, let's talk about the shellfish food. like I said, it's algae, it's microalgae. It's made up of these tiny micro as opposed to macro cellular or macroalgae. They're phytoplankton, phyto meaning plant, plankton meaning passively swimming. This is the base of the food chain right here, right? Sort of like our, it'd be similar to our grasses on land. This is the grass of the sea. The filter feeders that we're growing directly use this for food. So that's one of the things that makes this so sustainable, right? Because when we're growing oysters, we don't feed them. We just put them in the water. The beautiful green water we have here in 3 Mile Harbor is just what they want to eat. Green water is good water. We don't want, blue's fine, but we don't really get blue around here. You don't want brown or red, because that's usually a toxic algae. Comes in many colors, as you can see. Got this cool green one. A brown, good browns, obviously. These are the bread and butter for oysters and all.
Are these a mixture of species? Or
No, each flask has one species in it.
Okay.
Yep, I'll talk about that in just a bit. So the way it works is, talked about that, brown, green, red, blue, green. Blue green is usually toxic. Different types. There's flagella, which is what is in these flasks here. There's diatoms, which is basically a silica-shelled, single-celled algae. This is what they look like. The main thing to realize is just how small these things are. Who knows what a micron is?
Millionth of a meter.
Huh? Close. You're a couple zeros off.
Okay.
Drop 3 zeros.
Thousandth of a
Yes.
meter.
So 1 micron is 1,000th of a millimeter. So you can see the sizes here. This one, Tahitian isochrysis, the first one on the list. 3 to 5 micron cell size.
Wow.
It's tiny, but look how dark the water is.
Mhm.
So that is because there's about 3 million of these cells in each milliliter, each drop of water. And that's what makes the color in the water.
Wow.
So Pavlova, second one, that's this one here. Looks just the same as ISO. You can't even tell the difference under the scope. They do behave a little bit differently because they're flagella, like I said, so they actually swim. Swimming plants. This is Tetraselmis on the bottom, a little bit bigger. We use these when the larvae grow a little bit more, and I'll put some of that under the scope. This is actually a voracious swimmer. It's pretty wild to think that a plant swims around in the water. So those are the algae. So, and this is any sourdough people in the audience. Yeah. Hopefully some on the Zoom. So you have your starter culture, right? This is basically the starter culture. This is the starter culture for algae. These will be used to inoculate. Well, let me talk about this first, real quick. So basically, to maintain these, this is a sterile culture. There's one species in here, right? If it weren't sterile, it would basically crash. It would go clear, and everything would be dead. So what Amanda's doing here is doing a transfer under our algae hood. So we'll fill these flasks, filter seawater, add some nutrients, boil them to sterilize them, and then we can transfer. I would transfer this about 50 milliliters or 2 ounces of this into a new clean flask, and that blooms up. They divide on their own, and they just bloom up on their own. So if I were to leave this for another week, it's going to get darker and darker and darker. We add nutrients, like I said, which is basically vitamins, minerals, trace metals. Provide light, good temperature, which is right around 70 degrees. We can use natural light. Now we're using LED, which is great because it's a huge energy saver. Before that, we just used regular old fluorescence. We can manipulate the pH because if there's any chemists in the audience, what happens with photosynthesis, that drives the pH up. And if the pH goes out of the optimal range, which is 7.5 to 8.5, they'll slow down. So we can actually, it sounds a little crazy, but we actually pump CO2 into the systems to bring the pH down. So the cell counts can go up. Because again, we want these cultures to be as dark and rich as possible because the shellfish just devour them. Next. All right. So here you have the shelves of flasks, different colors. Even within the colors, there's going to be different shades of color, some that are later bloomed up, some that are newly inoculated. And these flasks are then used to inoculate the carboys on the bottom. And those carboys can then be used to inoculate larger tanks. This is upstairs in the hatchery. The bottom left picture is upstairs in the hatchery. Larger tanks. This is right around now already. We have all this food growing because the oysters that we have in the hatchery are chowing down hundreds of gallons of food every day. So you can see the nice dark colors, nice rich cultures. So the cultures go from flask to carboy to bag, tube, or tank. Bottom left is all tanks. Top right is our bag culture system. Again, we're providing light, temperature's perfect in there. We can pulse in CO2 to manipulate the temperature. This is what the bag algae culture room looks like out at the hatchery now. It's a sterilized system. This bottom left picture is basically an illustration of how we sterilize the water that goes into these bags to keep them clean and single culture. I can go through that more. I would love to have anybody come out to the hatchery to see this stuff firsthand. It'll make a lot more sense. And then of course there's the high money stuff. You can get a $50,000 bioreactor that really, I don't know, I'm kind of a keep it simple kind of guy, but you can get densities up to like 15-20 million cells per milliliter in these bioreactors, as opposed to our bags where we're getting 4 or 5 million. But it has its downfalls. You can only do one species at a time. It takes a few days to go between crops. Next. Oh, all right. So more on South Fork Sea Farmers. So you guys are basically all by default members of South Fork Sea Farmers. That's a nonprofit that we formed years ago. It helps us raise some money, raise awareness. We have a great website. We kind of store all of our videos there. They've done a lot with helping us do our oyster reefs, getting high school kids involved. It's really getting the high school kids involved has been awesome. So check out their website, and this video will be on there. I always like to suggest some books and take some suggestions.
Big oyster.
The Big Oyster is a must. Yeah, the Big Oyster top left is a must.
Great book.
All of those are really good reads. Shucked is a good one. It's about this woman, Erin Byers Murray, who spent a year on Island Creek Oyster Farm up in Massachusetts. Good reads. Any suggestions too? We'll take them.
Chasing the Blue-Eyed Scallop.
Chasing the Blue-Eyed Scallop. All right.
And that's also there was another one, I forgot who wrote it, but yeah, a friend of mine has gotten me into that. That was a good one. It's about foraging more than anything, but that's
right.
foraging by the water.
And it's
You'll give
takes
it,
place
yes.
on the East Coast.
Yeah.
What was it?
But
You'll give it.
You'll give it. And
Cool.
then the other one's like the asparagus one, I think, the lamb.
Same author?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. The pearl question, which I always get. I always get it. So the question I always get is, can our oysters make pearls? The answer is yes, but, and the answer is really in the picture here. So here's a, I'd say real live, but it's not a live, but a real black lip pearl oyster shell. Any of you ladies that have black pearls, this is the animal it came from. South Pacific, Solomon Islands, this one in particular. So you can see the inside of the shell here. This surface is called the nacre, N-A-C-R-E. And this is the surface that ultimately coats a pearl. So you can see, I'll pass this around. You hold it in the light right. Beautiful iridescence. Don't worry about that. These are actually growth fingers on the outside. Don't worry about the growth fingers falling off. So take a look at the beautiful iridescence, and that's what makes up the pearl. So that's what makes a black pearl a beautiful pearl. The eastern oyster, on the other hand, is kind of like chalk. And it actually is the same substance as chalk, calcium carbonate. So you can get pearls in these, but they're just going to look like this white matte. Clams actually make better pearls, like I said. There was a guy, Alex Miller, a former gardener, lived on Hog Creek. He found a pea-sized wampum pearl one year.
I got one too, in the class.
Susan got one.
There
Nice.
you go.
Where is it?
It's in my house.
Okay. Put it on a necklace or something.
I was gonna say, you have to do a necklace.
Yeah, definitely.
The decoupage with the oyster shell is the big thing now.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's-
making them in the
I should have brought
necklaces.
some of those in. My wife did some of those. And this thing, these little balls that are in that black lip pearl that's shown in the picture, those are the nuclei that are used for cultured pearls. So most pearls that you see are gonna be cultured because the natural pearls are just so rare. They're like one in 10,000, if not more. So the most of the pearls you get are cultured, and then even within cultured pearls, it's hard to get a perfectly round pearl. You get a lot of teardrop, or what we call, well, teardrop mabe is another term, and mabe pearls are the ones that are actually grown on the shell. But the cool thing about whole pearls is that you can get a few cycles of whole pearl out of one animal.
Mm.
Put the nuclei in, they actually add a skin, a graft from mantle, and that actually goes into the gonad. 24 months later, you have a pearl, and then you can actually put a larger nuclei in that gonad and get a larger pearl the next time around. So it's pretty cool. I was lucky enough to work on a research farm in the Solomons for a couple of years. And that's pretty much it, folks. Let me see if this video is gonna work. Yep, it worked. So that's, as of yesterday, some of our now, it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. 2-week-old larvae, oyster larvae. You can see actually, if you can see the brown, that's their guts full of food. That's exactly what we want to see. They're using their vellum. You can actually see the vellum. You can see the shell open. And they're using their vellum to swim around. See the brown in the video? That's their guts. I can look at this stuff all day.
Are they fornicated?
No, those are the babies.
I've seen them.
They've got ways to go.
in
These are
real
still
life.
infants. Huh?
What
Yeah.
what power is this that we're looking at?
100. Actually, no, it's 20. 20, and then I switch it to 40. It's under a dissecting scope.
Oh.
So this is 40x.
So you can almost see that with the naked eye.
Yeah, you can see, yeah, if I had it, you can see the little tiny dots swimming around, absolutely. Yeah, they're really cool. Like I said, anybody who wants to make the trek out to Montauk, come on out and I'll show you this stuff real time.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And actually between now and end of April is a great time to come. Later on, I'll have a mix of oysters and clams. Clams are cool too because they stick their foot out and flop, literally flopping around. It's awesome.
Is there any good time of day to come to the hatchery?
Really, any time, Monday to Friday.
Should we let you know ahead of time?
Yeah, it helps to let me know. Let me try and get the Kahoot up. Hopefully, some of you will take part in the Kahoot.
Yeah.
Can you guys at home see that?
Oh, your quiz.
Can you guys see it, the Kahoot at home?
Nope, don't see it.
Okay. How do I do this?
Go back to your PowerPoint and then share screen.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Share screen. Now they should.
So it's quiz time. Can you guys see it now?
No.
Give it a
How
second.
about now? Give it a minute. Wait, just wait.
Love tech, love it. Let me try and share again.
I just think it's the internet.
Now we see it.
All right, let's play. So you can join at the website, www.kahoot, or with the app, the Kahoot app. So basically, I think I've got like 18 questions. Some are true and false, some are multiple choice. And we're gonna see who's paying attention. It's very popular in schools. Kids love it. But I love it too. It's fun. There's a little humor mixed in. And then there's one specifically for us, mature people. Only the mature folks. If they were teenagers in here, they would not get my one question. They'd be like, whoa! I don't have any players yet. Come
Yeah,
on.
waiting for players. Come on, somebody go on. Oh, there we go, there we go. Yay, Julie.
You guys, the other guys can play along and keep your own scores. It's based on the time that you, based on the
Oh,
correct
DJ, right.
answer and how quickly you answer. Is anybody else coming on?
I'm setting up my.
Oh, okay.
A little bit of a process.
A nickname? Is there a nickname?
Whatever you want to call yourself.
Whatever, you can call yourself anything. Hot rod.
Wait a second. I don't think I understand this.
Understands oysters.
All right, we got 3 people.
So you have, Barley, you go to the www.kahoot.it
Yeah,
and then use your game pin,
yep.
and then you get a new name.
I think you're probably you're gonna have to name yourself.
Oh, I name myself. All right, so let me see. Wait a second. I have to go back to internet school. Oh my God.
Oyster, that's a
All
good one.
right.
Wait a second. Ah,
I'll get here.
Oh, wow. Oh, this is beautiful.
Ooh. Oh, wait.
Oh, that's me,
See
that's
what you
me.
guys are missing. Some nice, clean, fresh out of 3 Mile Harbor oysters here, folks. I even brought my wife's soon-to-be world-famous mignonette.
8360.
You really want to come in person, I'm telling you, it's worth it.
Oh, definitely.
This is better than town hall. We can make a mess
Oh,
here,
yeah.
clean up.
The best is taking it out of the refrigerator.
Yeah, that
That's
too.
the best. No, cooler and all the stuff.
Oh, yeah, I meant to say, restroom here and one upstairs.
So are they playing the game?
No,
now?
they didn't start.
Not yet, we're still waiting for folks to register.
Oyster olive.
I'm in. Very well.
Bruce,
Oh.
okay.
I always start.
Oh, there you go, okay.
All right, is anybody else still trying to log on?
Susan, are you in?
Yes, I'm in.
All right, I guess we'll play now. You ready?
Ready.
All right, starting. Get this thing out of the way. True or false? Oysters are animals. Starting hard, we're starting hard. We have 20 seconds to answer.
How many seconds?
20 seconds.
Uh-oh.
Did you get it? The answer is true. Oysters are animals. Kingdom Animalia, phylum Mollusca. Next. DJ's in the lead with 930.
Had to be fast.
Mhm.
Abby, Julie, Bruce, and Oyster. I thought we had an oyster. What happened to Oyster Olive?
Maybe they didn't answer.
True or false? Little
is the
neck
question?
and chowder are different species of shellfish. Get this thing out of the way.
Say that question again, please.
Little neck and quahog, little neck and chowder are different species of shellfish. I talked about it. I remember. Does anybody else remember?
Yes, yes.
True or false? Quahog little neck chowder.
Ah,
Oh, 5-1. How do we get this stuff out of the way?
Should be just.
Ooh, Abby takes the
Whoa.
lead. I need this out of the way. True or false? Mollusca is the most populated phyla. That cool picture I found.
Very nice. Is there a little X anywhere on there?
I'm sorry, I
oh
can't
my
get rid of that.
gosh.
Folks at home here are at a disadvantage. It's false. Mollusca is the second most populated phyla behind arthropods.
Oh.
Wow.
Does anybody know how, are you guys at home seeing this view profile thing
No,
on the right?
Okay, it's just us. There you go.
Oh, there
did
you
it.
go.
Okay.
Julie has the highest answer streak of 3. Great. Next. Quizzy, is it adductor or abductor muscle? This is a very common mistake. Abductor or adductor? I
What is
didn't
it?
really clarify because I don't want to give you the answer. It's very commonly confused, so don't feel bad if you get it wrong. Don't feel bad if you get it wrong.
well, what is the first word you used?
Oh my goodness, you guys need some work. The correct answer is adductor. It's not it doesn't adduct, it doesn't steal, it's adductor. Well, you'll never get that one wrong again.
Uh-oh, Julie took the lead.
Julie's in the lead. Don't the rest of you that didn't play want to play now? True or false? Shellfish have hearts. Definitely talked about that.
True.
That was one of your favorite parts.
It's not letting me answer.
True or false? Shellfish have hearts.
I can't answer.
You can't answer?
No.
The first one I was like, what is true and what is false? And then I
All right, everybody got it right. Thank you. It's a compliment to the teacher.
I think it's hard to do those colors.
Oh, have a heart.
You'll see all of the.
Correct.
What if you hold it landscape, no? All right, Julie's still in the lead. True or false? Gametogenesis was the original name of Phil Collins' band. One for us. True or false? Gametogenesis was the original name of Phil Collins' band. I knew you'd like that one. When I do this in the 8th grade next week, I'm not going to use that question. What? Nice. Good job, folks.
Oh, Julie, you're creaming them there.
Julie's rocking. It's it could change.
Oh, yeah, no, everybody's
We're
in there.
still within the range. Quizzy. That means multiple choice. The word that describes juvenile shellfish is punk, spat, gander, pipsqueak. Come on.
How do you know when it's been answered when you do it?
Good question.
It doesn't show you
How do you
that.
know it's been answered when you do it? When you actually
In
submit?
other words, until the end. Like the other one right away tells you wrong or.
Oh, what is it, 10 seconds?
So the correct answer is spat, 20 seconds. Goes larvae, spat, and then adult. Julie's still in the lead. Very good. True or false? An oyster can filter 50 gallons of water a day. Nobody gets this one wrong.
I sure hope not.
Please.
We did hear hour before.
Because yeah, because I said it wrong, and well, that's the thing, I said it wrong. I said it wrong and I was corrected, so hopefully we get it right. Nice,
Oh,
good
sweet.
job. Now it's down to the speed.
Oh,
That is so
Gee,
tight though.
wow.
that's about speed, how fast you.
How fish and.
Yeah, the speed and the
Visual
correct.
speed.
I was wondering how they came up.
Quizzy, what's the full name of my organization? East Hampton Sanitation Department, East Hampton Fish Hatchery, East Hampton Highway Department, East Hampton Shellfish Hatchery.
Shellfish.
And that's a picture of the actual building, by the way, out in Montauk. Nice aerial shot. That was right after we had the roof fixed. That's why it looks so good.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, people, well, that's all right. A lot of people make that mistake. No problem.
I was too quick. I was like trying to be fast.
Oh.
Don't rush.
Speed.
All right, Abby and Julie,
Oh.
still neck and neck. And oyster not, these guys,
Oysters right here.
it could
He's
still
standing up.
change.
Yeah.
True or false? Bay scallops have eyes.
Blue eyes, oh yeah, blue eyes, it's so pretty. They're gorgeous, they stand out. Put them toward the. Ooh.
True, good
Brilliant,
job.
Brilliant.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Abby and Julie are neck and neck. Oyster and
close.
DJ
Yeah,
could
they're right
still.
up
Quizzy, choose one event that negatively affected shellfish populations. The Super Bowl, brown tide, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the St. Patty's Day Parade.
Super Bowl. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Really?
I didn't change this one much from my 8th grade version. I ran out of time. Oh my goodness, who did that? I think somebody slipped.
Somebody
by
playing
accident.
games.
Okay, nah, somebody's pulling away here.
Ooh, 11 in a row.
Quizzy, when was the East Hampton Shellfish Hatchery established? 70s, 80s, 90s, or 40s?
Oh no, I ran out of batteries.
Somebody's gonna zoom ahead now.
Which one is what
I
was the
answered,
name?
but I wanted to show you on your phone, you don't get the answers on the, you
Yeah, I
just
was
get
at
the
the
bottom,
Oh.
you don't get the text.
Oh, wow.
So I listened, I heard you, I knew the answer, but I just,
Oh,
the color, I didn't know it.
Yeah, you did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one.
yeah, I just didn't have it to you.
Not bad, not bad. It's the 80s, right after the brown tide.
What year was the brown time?
It was right in the mid 80s, like 85.
I don't get this. How could
That's tight. That's tight. Ooh,
Ooh.
those top 3. It's going to be a race. What are we on? We're on 13 of 18.
It's still
There are 4 species of edible oyster on the East Coast. True or false?
False. But people always think they're different species
I know.
because they have different names.
Yep.
Blue, white, well,
Yeah.
right. I mean, or, but they.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ooh,
Good job. My goal in life is for people to realize that.
We are listening to you.
Yeah. Still tight. Anything could happen. Except Bruce is going to fall off because his battery died. All right, quiz. What's another common name of the oyster we grow? Atlantic, knob, shinnecock, or all the above?
Ooh.
Correct answer is Atlantic. It's really Eastern oyster or Atlantic oyster.
Oh, Julie's back on top again.
You call it American oyster, I think, in your slide.
Yeah. I gotta double check that. I gotta fix that. Wasn't it Atlantic?
It was, I thought it was Atlantic.
I'll double check that. All right, Julie's back in the lead. Not by far though. Abby and DJ. Tight top 3. 15 of 18. Other uses of shellfish include tools, jewelry, money, all the above. That's a nice picture of a shell midden right there.
Oh, there you go.
We gotta rename the trailer out there.
Bad idea.
Oh, all right.
Good job.
Go team.
Whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. We're gonna be in suspense now. Shellfish farming is sustainable because they help clean the water, they provide habitat, they don't require inputs of food, all the above. Nice picture of Nappy Harbor right there, August-ish.
Woo, go team.
Only 2 answers. What's happening?
Batteries.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I don't get this.
How'd that happen? Wow.
Maybe people had to leave. Shellfish food is
Good.
grilled, skewered, microscopic, or parboiled. Nobody gets this one.
Mike,
Very good. Microscopic.
No, I didn't.
Quizzy, carboy is a young licensed driver, a pedal-driven taxi, Nick and Tony's valet, or a clear container for brewing beer and alcohol.
Did you come up with
That's
these
the hardest question
answers?
so far.
When you designed this, did you come up with these
Yeah.
answers?
Good job. How come there's only 2 people left?
No, they must have like.
yeah, I don't think I'm registering anymore when I vote.
Oh, that's it. It's podium time.
you all did great.
Everybody gets it.
Oh, wait a second.
Who that? DJ.
Oh, great.
Right.
You're up on the podium.
That was fun.
All right, folks, so now we're gonna do a little shucking anatomy thing, and you guys on Zoom, I'll set this thing up so you can watch if you want to, but obviously you won't be able to imbibe. Let's see if I can, oh, look at this. How was that? All right, good to see you.
Hey, I got number 2.
What's the best place to put this, y'all think? Right here. Bear with me. That might work. That might work.
Yeah, that's good.
All right,
Yeah, good.
come on over. Come on over, folks. Anybody who wants to shuck or learn how to shuck. So we've got as you can see, oyster knives come in many different shapes and sizes. These,
Great kit you have there.
yeah, some of these are really, maybe better for a street fight. This is a beast. This is actually made by East Hampton Shucker Company, along with this one, John Nicholas. This is a toadfish knife, which didn't fare well. I mean, it bent like the 3rd oyster I shot. Really nice handle. This is a Valspar or something. Again, beautiful handle, but the blade gets beat up. The old trusty Dexters are really good knives. And then this one is South Carolina style. It's a nice knife. Janine gave this to me. She was the one that helped us with the oyster reefs. Clam knife here. Clams are a little different, as you all know. And I forgot my scallop knife. So hand protection is important. I brought plenty of gloves. I'll go through one. So you've got your let me make sure. Oh, it's a delay.
Your
So you
hand,
got
that- that's good.
Your cleaned oyster, I took these out of the water today. I gave them a quick brush under the sink. During the summer, a good garden hose spray usually does the trick. You're gonna put your knife into the hinge. There's a ligament in that hinge. So usually when you can hold the oyster like that, it's ready to go. Give it a twist and or pry. You can see a little gap. Open that up. Usually there's a little dirt in the hinge. Give it a wipe. Slide the blade up. You guys all know. Yes. Cut that muscle. Usually there's a little leftover on the top. Nice and clean. Okay, let's do a quick anatomy first before we. So you got the mantle. Are we still on the video? Yeah. You got the mantle here. You've got the gills, right? Down here are those mouth parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't expect the heart to be beating because it's so cold. Sometimes though, like you can see, this is the heart valve. You'll see that moving back and forth sometimes. So that's the heart. This is the gonad here. Stomach. Usually it's got brown stuff in it. The muscle, two types of muscle, smooth muscle, striated muscle. Right? Clear as mud. Beautiful. I mean, nice, good sized oyster, good anatomy, mouth parts. So the pseudo feces would come out here. Everything else gets ingested and shot out here. Cut the
Did you say there
muscle.
were 4 mouth parts?
Yeah, there's 4 layers.
Oh, 4. Okay.
1, 2,
I see. Okay.
3. I'm probably gonna peel all 4
Yeah,
apart.
yeah, yeah.
All right, who's first? There's some mignonette and there's some lemon. Sorry. Zoomers. Come on now.
Give me a killing tool.
Take your pick. Which one do you want?
So is that your favorite knife?
That particular.
This and this. I
It
kind of
has that
switch
little,
between.
do you find that helpful, that
Yeah,
little?
yeah. I
Are
like
they
it.
both
And
Dexter?
the sturdy blade is key.
The blade is key,
It doesn't
that
bend.
point.
Doesn't bend.
Are they both Dexter?
Yeah. Well, this is R. Murphy. I think Dexter bought R. Murphy. I think they're
Okay.
close to the same.
These are not ours, right?
No, Tata only refers to the clam.
Oh,
So one thing you're gonna look out for as oyster growers, gardeners, etc. One thing that's gonna destroy your shucking experience is sponge. This is an egregious example of sponge.
It cracks the shell.
So there's a type of sponge that gets on it, and I'll write about all this during the summer. But the sponge, if I can find one, these are all nice oysters. There might not be any sponge.
Is it really visible?
Yeah,
You'll get them in the bags.
You'll see.
'em.
You'll see the holes. So if you haven't seen it yet, that's a good sign,
I've
guys.
seen it.
It's a very good sign.
every 2 weeks.
I've never seen the holes.
No, this is actually one that I picked up off the bottom. So they look a little bit differently. They're growing into the bottom. So yeah, there's no, so what's gonna happen if you have the sponge on the shell is you're gonna go in to shuck it and it's just gonna explode.
No, I
So
know.
if
They
you guys
didn't do
haven't
the
witnessed that, great, glad to hear it.
Yeah, wow, that's.
So one thing we do to remedy it is brine dipping,
Mhm.
air drying. It's another beauty.
Can I try shucking one?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a clam knife.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a clam knife.
Who's up?
Work of art.
You want a glove or a towel?
Yes.
So the towel's a good alternative, you know, just.
Build mine on account.
You can get them at LVIS for like 50 cents, they always have them.
Oh, yeah, that's good to know.
That's good to know.
What do they always have?
The towels.
Oh, yeah?
That's where I get my supply of towels.
Really?
So you want to also bring your shells back to Gann Road so we can use them in oyster reefs. We have a trailer. We have a trailer set up.
How old would you say these oysters?
These are probably 3
Oh,
for the most part. It's probably a 2.
They're not that big. I mean,
They're pretty thick.
That's a big oyster.
Like this one's probably. Anyone? All right.
That's a lemon?
Lemon
I'm
or
gonna try
mignonette?
the famous mignonette.
There you go.
I
This is
had
a really
trouble getting
big
into that
oyster.
meeting.
Yeah, it's
It's
really not.
I'm a
It's
terrible
not,
shopper, but why, I never seem to.
Put it straight in,
it's not a
and then,
huge,
like, you're gonna pop it
muscly
and
thing.
listen to the
It's
pop.
It's really more
Okay.
finesse.
Good.
Yeah, that's very
Should
right.
go straight down, pop.
Yeah,
My,
it's 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 rice wine vinegar based.
Oh, is there no water in this?
Okay.
place?
That one, sorry, this one doesn't work. I don't know why.
With the bend.
Want to try it? No, that's what
Forget
you
that
do.
one.
They're both.
Is this one salvageable or?
Yeah, I mean, you can stick the knife in and cut the muscle. You might need a longer
It's
blade.
nice and salty.
So that's what happens to me a lot too, it gets crumbles at the hinge.
That can also happen with fast growers. If the shell is too thin, it'll crack. But a lot of times that'll happen with the top shell. Ooh, the green gill. This is a green gillet.
What's that?
Comes from the food they eat. It freaks a lot of people out,
No,
but
it's so
some
good.
places that's a delicacy.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
That oyster would be even more expensive.
China.
Anybody at home still want to see the
That's
green
very
gillet?
unique. I don't think I've seen anything like that.
I don't know why there's only one in the whole bunch, because they're all eating the same.
I know.
Well, they haven't been eating in a while, first of all, but remember the 50 degree mark.
That's like more of a delicacy in the restaurant.
Ooh, that's
Worth more
cool.
money.
Have you seen?
So this
the
happens,
works
you know, you
in
shut-
your
you slice
oysters
open
you're
the gut.
growing? Have you seen
That's
that?
fine.
Oh,
You don't eat anything.
You should eat that one.
That's your celebration, you should eat that one.
Yeah. Our
Oh, there
thank
you
you
go.
to you is to let you eat that one.
And thank you, the PowerPoint was fabulous as always.
Keep trying. You gotta keep trying. I
Yeah,
brought-
you just keep getting, it will come natural. Just happen.
I like lobsters sometimes.
Hmm.
They come out green.
So John is selling these knives now?
Yeah, the knives and here's some beer. Whoa, you trade some.
You said bring something to drink.
Yeah,
That's one of the reasons we had.
awesome. Thank you.
Did,
After you're talking, I need a.
oh, wow,
Refresher.
Ooh, wow.
These are kind of green.
Mhm.
Anyone?
I'm gonna try again.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just said.
Right in.
Yeah, you can, it
Yeah,
helps,
there you go.
sometimes it
See,
helps
come in
to
and now
put your
twist it
hand,
a little,
you gotta get that blade in a little bit more. maybe.
and listen to the pop.
There
There's
you
the pop,
go.
you got it. There's that pop. Now you're gonna go, keep the knife in all the way.
That, since
And
it's a
then
small
slide.
blade, maybe slide it along here, the muscle's gonna be up.
On the top.
Right through it, yeah. All the way, keep going, keep going.
Does anybody wanna try and shuck a clam cleanly, or?
I wanna watch you do the clam.
I like chocolate clams.
Oh, do you? I wanna
Yeah,
watch the
Robert
science
Shucks
of this,
is
okay.
really-
So wait a minute, show me exactly, where are you putting the knife?
Oh, you're a hinger.
On the hinge, okay. It's on the
Listen, I'm
hinge.
used to doing the oysters. We
That's
haven't
where
gotten
it's
clams for a while.
Yeah.
So you do the clam from the
We
side
used to always
opposite
get
the
clams, now we
hinge,
got
right?
oysters, so we don't
I
have to go
usually
get
do.
clams
Yeah.
anymore.
I still do the clams, but I'm having a harder time opening the clam where I can do the oyster in a heartbeat. It's just-
Slap them on the grill. they'll
I
open
know,
right up.
I do
Or put them in the
that.
freezer.
Right, I do that one too. That's why I wanna watch it.
Yeah, I keep
It's
on
on the
looking
hinge.
for the penultimate way.
Try
I
this
like doing that.
Now, do you listen for the pop or there's no pop?
Wow, these are tight.
Okay.
I meant to put them in the oyster. I put them in the
Refrigerator?
freezer.
Freezer.
Kills them?
No, it makes it easier to open.
Yeah, I think we tried that one. We tried different.
Yeah, that's another method,
Yeah, I think we tried that.
especially if if you wanna cook them. You can
Yeah.
Or you just
freeze
put
them,
'em
and
in
then when
the-
they thaw out, they'll pop open.
Or if you're doing a
Or you
blue
can
glaze,
just
just
start
put them in.
Just when they start to freeze.
Mhm.
This knife's no good. Those are big for hingers.
Is this meant to be a clam knife?
No, that's John,
Yeah.
Looks
no,
really
that's-
that's his,
His that knife looks like.
second, his
serious.
muscle cutter.
Trying to get in there.
Well, those are big ones. We don't
Yeah,
usually.
we normally have the little
We
knives.
don't usually
It's
open
tight,
up.
really
We're
tight.
usually.
I had one of these and the tip.
Usually the ones you
tip
open up
broke
are
off.
the little ones.
Yeah.
It's no
And
good.
I contacted them.
Otherwise,
they
We
gave
don't
me a
want
new
this
one.
big.
Otherwise,
No, we don't eat
yeah,
these
we
big.
don't eat those. We steam them to
Right.
open them when we're.
Or you make the chowder with them.
Yeah, we
Anybody
usually
want
do
more
big
oyster?
clams.
No.
Our neighbors say they go down to
Yes.
Baby Beach and they just pick them out.
Of
from-
what?
Yeah, we
Oysters?
spent a
lot
right
on the surf,
right on-
Yeah.
on the
sand.
Where do they usually go? By Baby Beach? or-
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good spot.
Well, Barley, you find it easier on these big ones to go in the front?
Clams?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would usually go right in here.
Because usually if we're doing clams raw, they're much smaller. than
Yeah,
that.
that's a lot
And we
easier to-
cook the big ones.
I'll have one more if you don't mind.
This one's
Oh,
smaller,
See, the oysters are easier.
way easier.
yeah.
You think they're easier?
Definitely, you just.
Well, unless they're smaller, small,
Top ends, yeah.
like, cherry stones.
You
What are these
got it,
called?
see?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Those
beautiful,
would be
yeah.
top neck.
Look at it.
What the top neck?
Beautiful.
Now, you don't lose the juice all over the place.
T.O.P.
That's the
Top neck.
mark of a true professional.
True.
What's top neck?
Who's this for?
What is top neck?
This size. Chowders are actually, they're
They're
actually
big,
supposed to
they're
go
huge.
by the inch. Inch
Okay.
size is a
heard
little
top
neck, 2 inch. I might have gotten that wrong. 2
Yeah.
inches, well, 2 inches supposed to be top neck.
The smallest one,
Cherry,
3 inch
little neck and
is-
cherry stone, I never heard of
Cherry
the top
stone,
And then the
chowder
chowder.
is supposed to be like 4 inches, which is
Wow.
Huge.
the little necks are the smallest ones.
yeah, smallest, just harvest size.
Illegal.
You ready? You got in.
He got in, he
That
did it.
side.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
the way
did
to
the
do it.
side, okay.
Yeah.
The hinge is really hard.
So you put it right at that bed. Oh, so you're having a hard time. Okay. Watch your fingers.
I'm just trying to cut it open so I don't totally
Mhm.
eviscerate it.
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah, that's a
That's
little
a
big
big
to eat
animal.
raw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
That's a little big to eat raw.
So you got a
Wouldn't eat
muscle
that
here,
raw.
muscle here,
Wow.
big old foot,
Yes.
Look at that foot.
gill here,
Where's the gill? Underneath? Oh,
Yeah,
I
one
see,
here, one
okay.
here. Stomach is cut open.
And what was this,
Watch the bottle there.
sort of gray in there? Oh.
That is gill,
Well, you're-
gill on the other
Oh,
side,
okay.
mantle.
mine.
Where's the gonad in that one?
It's, the stomach and gonad are right
Oh,
in here.
okay.
Too cold to see.
Okay.
You had like a lot of cocktail sauce, you could eat that.
Yeah,
You're like a tablespoon of
I
cocktails.
can cut it in half. if anybody wants.
Well, in the big oyster book, which I happen to have picked up and read, very interesting about New York City history.
Yeah,
They
it's
said-
fascinating.
They said that they had a lot of, and you had a big shell, I remember seeing this summer, but that mostly, like, they were all coming out of the water in
Yeah.
New York in the 1600s, like,
Yeah.
a foot long. And
17, yeah.
you'd have to cut them, like pieces,
Or the chowder. Definitely the
just
chowder.
to eat them, because it was just so big, like, it was a very interesting book, that one, the big oyster.
The library has it. They
Can
have
you
a couple
imagine what
copies.
that island was like
Oh, it had to be outrageous.
in the
Unbelievable.
beginning?
Oh,
That book is so well put together.
Surrounded by
Written.
oysters.
What's interesting, like, it was like poor people could like just get food to eat.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was inexpensive food
wow.
and whatnot.
Yeah, street food.
Yeah.
Which book was that?
The big
Big oyster.
Oh, the Big Oyster, yeah.
Do you want us to help you clean this up? I don't want you to have a mess.
So these are demonstrations. and-
Yeah, so these are actually, take a close look and see what you see.
Oh.
Yep,
Is
the
that
oyster
from the
drill
oyster?
hole.
The drill.
Oh, the oyster drill.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about this at pest predators, but
And
the
I-
oyster drill,
I have a question about that squirt thing that we all got this summer.
yeah,
That little thing.
last summer was bad for that.
Which I'd never seen before. Like, do you have anything to say about that? I mean,
Sea
we
squirt.
didn't
Last
have-
summer was
Just keep
especially
cleaning
bad.
your.
They went on our boats and everything.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
It's
Hopefully,
our
it's
ancestor
cyclical.
though, right?
What?
Has notochord, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like
so-
primitive backbone
Yeah,
animals.
yeah, exactly.
You don't normally see them come.
Not that bad. We always see them, but this year was exceptional.
Because I mean, I'm just like glad I happened to go in on that day because my littlest babies were the ones that were like really pretty covered with them.
Right.
Thank goodness the bigger ones, it wasn't so bad there, but where the littler ones were, it's like,
Yeah.
they were on the edge. If I hadn't gone in for another week or two or something.
Oh, you forget it.
They were getting.
Yeah, they're usually not that bad in oysters. My theory is just because the oyster shell is so thick that with all the shuffling around, they actually cut them open. They're terrible in clams. It was based on that theory, there's nothing that knocks
Maybe,
them out.
maybe that's why they liked the babies, because they weren't.
Yeah, they can get in there.
Yeah.
But you can, yeah, you can, I don't know
What's
how
the
you
safest
dealt
time
with
to
it.
go clamming with this,
Safest time?
not to get the bacteria?
Anytime. I mean, you can, as long as the waters are certified.
Yeah.
And then once you get them out of the water, you gotta get them on ice.
Do you have the DEC site on your phone?
Yeah,
Just have that on your
How
phone.
soon?
like within the hour.
Within the hour?
Yeah. Now keep them in the water as long as you can. And get them on ice.
They're also saying that now you have to have the ice, like if you were,
This is
If
my.
Marine
this is,
Patrol comes, that you have to have
normal
ice in your cooler.
And this is what.
Is that right?
Right.
Even if you got your license?
Correct, they want the ice in the cooler because now they're saying that you have that, I know.
They're saying what?
That you have to have ice in your cooler
I can
Because-
tell you,
because of the disease going around with the
Oh.
clams.
I can tell you a little story.
Maybe. We might still be getting 1 to 5%.
I had a car accident.
It's a
I needed to replace my parking, my dump permit. I went to the town clerk.
Yeah, you shouldn't see
They
more than a
said,
handful.
if you wanna get your permit for the next 3 months,
A lot of flow.
because I didn't get it from my wrecked car,
Right.
If you don't.
they said,
keep an ice, they can
you
get
need a
infected.
letter from the
No,
body shop.
There's a bacteria out there called Vibrio, which is,
Yeah,
it's
no,
always there.
from
Okay.
the body shop that says when and where you will get your
And
car
it's
back.
also gonna multiply.
And my
more
driver's
over the
license
summer.
and my register.
Like most bacteria, it likes.
And I'm thinking,
So if
that's
you-
just
you
so
harvest a
freaking
clam or an oyster,
ridiculous.
you sit it out in the
I
sun,
think
I
it
paid for
warms
it.
up.
I'm
That
already
bacteria is
registered,
inside the
I've
animals.
already paid for it.
Dividing.
So just give me the permit for
You can't expose it to the
replace
sun.
it.
if you really want
2
to.
months.
Just keep them cool. You can either keep them
It
in the
was
water.
ridiculous.
like a floating
Nothing
basket
is
or a
easy.
mesh
They've
bag.
gotten
Or
it
yes,
made
yeah.
much
Shade,
harder than it
shade is always
used
better,
to be.
but
How about
ideally.
that?
You did great.
Vibrio?
It's like, it's not a parking permit I'm looking for,
Vibrio.
it's a dump permit.
Okay, we also get infected with that?
There's many different species, so
Oysters are they?
it's always there.
Yeah.
But if you harvest them fresh, you treat them fresh,
But can we get cut?
the cut is the most,
This is
causes
unusual,
most of
right?
the problems.
Uh,
Every summer when you hear about it, most of the
How does
illnesses
it
are
feel?
come from people swimming in brackish water with open wounds.
I'm not much of a
The
shocker, so this
Vibrio
was
in there.
really a
Yeah.
great,
It's only
learning
like
experience.
10% of
This is the
the
one,
illnesses are in.
Where did you get
Group
this?
likes
Yes.
that.
Oh, really?
Even
I've
then,
never seen that. Do you know where you get them?
Immunocompromised people. Already
I'm gonna Google lenses.
generally people there.
What is
They did it,
Google
felt
Lens?
ergonomic.
They- From the picture they can.
Yeah.
Mosquito, I mean, you're always gonna be fresher than anything you're gonna eat.
Google Lens?
Do you think it's
If you
okay?
bring a bucket of ice or a cooler down there, put them right in.
We go clamming at Acabonic.
If you, or actually just go to Google.
Yeah, as long as it's certified waters, and the DEC
Get that
takes
with
it
camera.
very seriously. We don't want
But don't do it
to-
Take a picture.
Edge.
And there it is.
You can't do it at the two edges.
Yeah.
Look at the map.
We have two orange posts.
You got
There's a line.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll talk about it.
I was trying to go on the other side.
Slide up.
I should try to go on this side.
Yeah, you can't.
And
Oh, goodness, thank you.
Really shows like where you put today.
You found it?
Yeah.
So look at those maps.
That's a nice
We have to kayak to it. We can't.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay.
You ever kayak like over to Sandy's or anything, Bill?
I've
No.
never used any.
It's not so obvious from Mile
I use this, I
Harbor.
don't like it.
At Acabona, I see a priori.
What do you recommend of
Yeah.
all of these?
I
Yeah, see,
like
all these boats.
You can look at the map of where
The
the
one with
are
the little-
seating.
Yeah.
We just, since we
Oh,
moved
there,
to
that one
the
over there.
harbor, we never have.
Yeah, that one.
You can go down to, you know, where the dolphins, we call it the
Sometimes this
dolphins.
is the
that
cheapest
3
one to
hour,
Yeah.
But it's
It's like a
good,
pilot, but
because
it's
it's got a little bit of bed. and
just
it's
south of you
there.
guys.
Yeah.
head
And
down
so,
the
and
boat,
this would go in
where it
like,
gets narrow.
Yes,
Yeah.
Right down
Yeah.
there's a good
And it's
spot.
really tough.
On the
The
west side of
weather is
that
really tough.
spit.
It's not all that
Yeah.
tough.
Sammy's, even up here, we
No,
call it
they don't
sea
need to
flat.
go.
Yeah. you
Right,
see people
just
there.
north of the, yeah. And that's the other thing too, where you see people.
Oh, I'm so
there.
glad
And
that
trying
you
to go on the
got this
weekends.
food.
Yeah.
Because
I
then
haven't
everybody
heard
will
about
find
that.
a
That's a
spot.
good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, good to see you.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.
See you in March, and then.
We want some more oyster? We can eat this clam? I'm gonna cut it in half.
I'm not gonna cut this.
I cut it in half.
I gotta
I
go
like
too.
oysters better than clams personally,
Me too.
but
Even in chowder,
yeah.
just because the consistency, because literally, I mean, I'm not joking.
I like the clam pizza.
That
I got lentil
foot
soup,
gets
but they
jammed in my tooth every
do
time.
well. And you know what that,
Well,
Put in the
look at
jar?
outside lights.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it is pitch black.
oh, good.
That's it.
That's it, all right, put that on a little bit.
Nice to meet you
All right.
all.
Take
All
care.
right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Barley.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. We'll see you.
So
Yeah, here we go.
I have to still, I haven't, I had been helping a couple of friends with their farms in the past, but this year I want to start my own, so.
All right.
I know, I think around the 5th, I think you had sent out something a few weeks ago, but now you have online payment or I
Yeah.
can send a check, whatever's easier for you.
Whatever's easy for you is fine.
By the way,
Lamb chowder.
Yeah, they.
That's the key.
We were out of town when you sent that, whatever, I have to go for that email.
All right.
That's
You can't find it, just.
gone for a few weeks, like, you just don't dig that far back, and by the way, for some reason, things like your emails end up in my junk mail, so
Huh.
I never see them. But I keep undoing it, I keep saying like, no, don't block this way, I think they still go there.
Huh.
I got it goes through.
It's a little weird. Strange.
Thanks so much.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for coming,
Good
thanks
seeing
for
you.
the beer too, thank you.
I'm excited for the season.
Yeah, it'll be fun, thanks for coming.
I'm usually
I
around,
appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. I'm usually closer to Napeag, so is it a problem to use the Napeag?
You could do Nappy or the
Yeah.
lake,
Yeah.
whichever one's best.
I have, that's kind of my base, and I do a lot, I'm one of the people who's in the water a lot, I do like hydrofoiling.
You know where, oh, okay, so you know where that garden is, the end of Cranston Boulevard?
Yeah, my friend was doing it, and I had,
Who's your friend?
Sean, I don't know if he's still doing it, but his name's, what's his last name? He's a young guy, actually. Sean and his wife was Julia.
Trudeau?
Trudeau, yeah. Sean Trudeau.
I think he's still doing it.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe they stopped last year.
Because they haven't been out
Can't
here,
remember.
because they were right on the P, they were right, inland over there,
Yeah,
near where the channel is.
I can't remember now. They might have stopped last year.
But I would help him with his oysters sometimes.
Okay, so you know the drill already. Yeah, cool.
Just Keep the little crabs out and.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm excited though, I love oysters, so this will be a really, and
Yeah,
it's not even for necessarily just having the oysters, because I can probably shellfish and find them myself,
Good.
but I think it's a wonderful community and to
Fun.
help the water, I think it's just a wonderful way to give back a little bit and put some energy into
Appreciate
it.
it.
And I think it's educational, I learned a lot tonight.
good,
so
thank
much.
you.
So my name's Bruce.
Barley.
Do you need any help? I'm happy
I'm
to.
good, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
opening this up for us and
Yeah.
taking the time and we can get, if I wanted to look at this again or share this with. my
Yeah, I'm gonna, I'll
It's
get the
available.
recording out.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Right on,
Thanks.
thanks for coming.
Charge my phone.
Yeah.
I had to head back.